Welcome students to the second section of this module, which is organization of skeletal muscle. So in this video, you will learn about the parts and structure of the skeletal muscles. So I am Dr. Divya Bhakran. I will be taking you through the parts and structure of the skeletal muscle. So as you know, muscle is a specialized contractile tissue which brings about movement of the body. So always think muscle as a motor of the body. So in a human body, we have 650 different muscles, and these muscles are of three categories. We have skeletal muscle, we have smooth muscle, and we have the cardiac muscle. So skeletal muscle is also called as striated muscle. They are under voluntary or direct nervous system control. Second, you have cardiac muscle, which is also striated, but they are specialized and are confined to the heart and is involuntary. And third is smooth or visceral muscle, which is also involuntary and is not under somatic nervous control. So, skeletal muscle brings about movement of the body. Also, it supports the posture of the body, stabilizes the joint, reduces heat, and protects the organs. So, skeletal muscle is also called as stripped muscle or striated muscle because of its striated appearance. Somatic muscle because it is under somatic nervous system control, and voluntary muscle because it is under voluntary control. So skeletal muscle is an organ which is made up of skeletal muscle fibers, which consist of skeletal muscle fibers, connective tissue coverings, you have blood vessels, you have nerve fibers. So it is, as I told you, skeletal muscles are under voluntary control, under somatic nervous system, and they produce rapid contraction of the uh, it is rapid contraction. So this is the structure of skeletal muscle. This is what you see when you take a cross section of the skeletal muscle. So you can see bundles of skeletal muscles are attached to the bones through tendons or direct attachment. Now coming to the cross section. So first you have the bundles of muscle fibers. These are called as fascicles. Okay. So this is a fascicle. So each fascicle contains many muscle fibers, and each muscle fiber contains hundreds and thousands of myofibrils. So we have the fascicles, they're bundles of muscle fibers. So each fascicle contains muscle fibers, lot of muscle fiber. So it's a single muscle cell, and each muscle fiber contains myofibrils, many myofibrils, hundreds and thousands. Okay. Now coming to the connective tissue coverings. So there are three important connective tissue coverings. We have the epimysium. Epimysium means related to the muscle. So epimysium, it surrounds the entire muscle and gives it protection against friction. Okay, so it surrounds the entire muscle, and these fascicles, they are surrounded by perimysium, and individual muscle fibers are surrounded by endomysium. So three connective tissues: epimysium, epimysium, which surrounds the entire muscle; perimysium, which surrounds a bundle of muscle fibers, that is fascicles; and endomysium, which surrounds the individual muscle fibers. So you can think as muscle as a whole organ. So fascicles are bundles of muscle fibers. So muscle fiber is a single muscle cell, and each muscle cell contains organelles called myofibrils, many hundreds and thousands of myofibrils. And myofibrils uh, contain sarcomere, which is a repetition of a sarcomere all along, and sarcomeres contains myofilaments. Okay. So coming to the skeletal muscle fibers. So skeletal muscle fibers are actually muscle cells or myocytes, but they're called muscle fibers because of their appearance. They are long and cylindrical, and they contain several nuclei, and they are cross-striated. So, length of the muscle fiber can extend up to 30 centimeters in length and the diameter zero point 0.1 centimeters in diameter. And these muscle fibers are wrapped in a cell membrane. The cell membrane of muscle fiber is called sarcolemma. So, underneath the cell endomysium, we have the sarcolemma. Sarcolemma is the plasma membrane, and then inside that you have the sarcoplasm. The cytoplasm of muscle is called the sarcoplasm. So let's see the structures embedded within the sarcoplasm. We have myofibrils, you have the nuclei, you have the Golgi apparatus, you have the mitochondria which produces energy, sarcoplasmic reticulum, ribosomes, glycogen complex, etc. So here you have the single muscle fiber. It contains from hundreds to thousands of myofibrils. So this is the sarcolemma. Beneath the endomysium, epimysium, you have the cell membrane, which is the sarcolemma, and uh, inside that, you have the sarcoplasm, which contains myofibrils. You have the mitochondria, glycogen stores, etc. And so these myofibrils are elongated protein molecules which are aligned in parallel arrangements. They extend the full length of the cell. Okay, so they are arranged parallelly and extend the full length of the muscle fiber, and they are composed of bundles of myofilaments. So this is the muscle fiber or a myofibril, and you have the sarcomere. So what is the sarcomere? It is a structural. They are structural and functional unit of a muscle fiber, or skeletal muscle. So it's a basic contractile unit of the myofibril that occurs in repeated segments all along their length. So it is a myofibril. It's a portion of the myofibril between it lies between the two Z lines, or two Z zones. Okay. So within the myofibril, the sarcomere is arranged in series throughout its length. So within the sarcomere, you have two filaments. You have thin filament, which is made up of actin filament, and thick filament, which is made up of myosin filament. So this is a two-dimensional diagram of the sarcomere. What you can see here, this is the Z line. Uh, so in between, the segment between the two Z lines is called the sarcomere. So you have the thin actin filaments and the thick myosin filaments. Okay. So this middle line is called as M line. So this M line actually anchors the myosin filament to the center, and then you have the actin line which is attached to the uh, Z zone or the Z line and extends to the center, whereas the myosin filaments is actually in the center. They lie in the center and it is attached to the M line. Okay. So characteristics of the skeletal muscle fiber. So there are well-developed cross striations. I'll tell you why. Because it is produced by refractive index difference in different myofibril parts. So it's a mixture of isotropic as anisotropic areas of polarized light. So you have dark bands and light bands on the myofibril. So it is referred as I bands and A bands. So light bands are called as I bands, which contain only actin filaments, and they are isotropic to reflected light. And you have the A bands, which are dark bands, which contains the myosin filaments and actin, some amount of actin, which is anisotropic. So that is why there is dark and light bands of myofibrils, which causes the striation on the muscles. Then you have the sarcotubular system of the muscle. So the sarcoplasm or cytoplasm of the skeletal muscle contains sarcotubular system, which consists of the T tubules and L tubules. L tubules are otherwise called sarcoplasmic reticulum. Right? We have the endoplasmic reticulum. In the muscle, we have sarcoplasmic reticulum. Okay. So the T system or T tubules, they start from the sarcoplasm and then they extend inwards into the sarcoplasm to the interior of the muscle uh, myofibrils. Okay, so they are filled with extracellular fluid, and these T tubules actually is the one which allows the penetration of the action potential to the inner core of the muscle cells. So extends through and through from inside to outside the muscle cells, and they lie transverse. Whereas the L tubules, they extend between the T tubules in a longitudinal fashion, and they are responsible for calcium transport. They have high calcium concentration. They are considered as sarcoplasmic calcium transport. So here you have the myofibrils and the sarcolemma. So you can see the T tubules which extends transverse to the myofibrils. So which is responsible for penetration of the uh, action potential from outside to inside, inner core of the myofibril. And then you have the sarcoplasmic reticulum, which runs longitudinally, and they have a lot of calcium ions, which can lead to excitation and contraction. So here you can see the A band. Okay, so A band you have contains. So A band contains the myosin and some amount of actin, whereas I band contains only the actin filaments. Okay, so that gives you the uh, brief, tells you about the structure of the muscle. So muscle terminology, if you see, muscle fiber, muscle cell is called a muscle fiber. Cell membrane of the muscle is called sarcolemma. Cytoplasm of the muscle is called sarcoplasm, and sarcoplasmic reticulum, they are endoplasmic reticulum, modified endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, so just a summary of what we learned today. So the structure and parts of the muscle. So you have the muscle here. So muscles actually contains bundles of muscle fibers that is called as uh, fasciculi. So each fasciculi contains muscle fibers, individual muscle fibers. So inside the individual muscle fibers, you have the myofibril. So myofibril is made up of actin and myosin filaments, and the section of sarcomere is a section of myofibril which runs in series throughout the myofibril. And then you have the sarcomere, two-dimensional figure of the sarcomere. You have the dark band and the light band. Dark band is otherwise called as A band, and light band is I band. So dark band contains myosin and some amount of actin from here, whereas light band contains only actin. It extends from one Z line to the other Z line. So inside the muscle, you have the fascicle, and inside the fascicle, they have muscle fiber. Inside the muscle fiber, you have myofibril, it's an organelle, and myofibril contains uh, myofilaments. So myofilaments, actin and myosin filaments make up, they give contractile nature. Okay, so with that, we come to the end of the organization of skeletal muscle. Hope you have understood. Thank you for your patient listening.